Discount Podcast.
Welcome in, you cheap beggars, to Discount, the bargain bin gaming podcast hosted by three hosts so small they might be the entire team behind CEX's quality control.
Yep, good team.
I am down surrounded by a bunch of feet, not because I'm on OnlyFans, but because I'm on the bottom shelf. I'm Josh, I'm plugging into Player 2.
I am here surrounded by 30 of my peers because I am the latest AAA title that was received. I'm Darren, hello. And off in that side cabinet where they put like the occasional retro game, but also that one game that's there and you don't know why, like did it upset the others?
I'm bottom in the rankings, but I'm also bottom of the shelf, so you could call me the power bottom of the podcast. It's Keris.
You're generating all the power from the bottom.
Yeah.
That's what you would think there,
Yeah.
Darren, but actually they can just take a tremendous amount of power.
Got it.
Yeah.
Lovely. I'm glad
Both are true. Both are true.
glad we got a lovely
Both can be true.
sunny
A good
reference
sunny
in there.
reference, yeah.
Yeah, it's
To
interesting.
counter the weather.
Which is odd because it's been lovely up until now, but come in, the wettest summer on record.
Oh,
Yeah,
don't
why
know,
not?
because it makes me want to actually throw myself out of a window.
Before we get too far, what's this podcast?
Oh, this is a discount. We've already
Yeah.
said it. We're doing fight episodes and we
We
fight
are.
over budget games.
fight.
And that's the thing at the
Yeah.
top. But yeah, I was just wondering how everyone's doing, really. I mean,
Good.
to pull back the curtain, this is the second time of recording this episode. We had a bunch of technical issues. So we're hoping this one makes it out.
Yeah, I spent a bunch of time with the old computer finally tweaking the settings and getting everything just right, and then bought a new computer, so it's fucked.
But that's fine, isn't it? What?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't Darren getting a new computer, moving a new house, cause a bunch of issues for
I
everyone
know,
involved?
it's just terrible.
Yeah.
I know, we're terrible, terrible people.
We are.
And terrible, terrible people love to fight over budget video games.
Yeah,
and we
we
do
do.
have some...
Any video games, really.
Yeah, any video games. And we do have some ones to talk about on this fight episode. But before we look at what we're doing this time, should we have a little look back at last episode's fight and open the vault and see
Do it.
what goes in there?
Yeah.
Did Karis fall over?
I don't know, Darren did the lion's share of opening the vault there.
Well,
I always do.
Last time we recorded this episode, you played a prank on me, and
Yeah, but they don't know that.
I don't care.
You're
I'm
the
not-
villain.
I'm not gonna do it.
Also, for some reason, it's taking forever for the audio clips to
I like
play
it.
that will go over. So he's like, oh, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And then I wait for it all to fall apart like everything else does.
Of course.
Like terrible games that people don't want to play, but sometimes people want to keep them because they're really good.
Yeah.
Rhythm, did it have that problem? Yes, it obviously had some people who liked our rhythm games. So
Yeah.
Rhythm was our last episode, and we had 3 mixed games, but all
Generally fine.
generally
Yeah.
fine. I think all of them have cornered a market of someone's
Yes.
love. Like they've gone, I really
Yeah.
like this game. They were Crypt of the Necrodancer, No Straight Roads, and Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good names.
All good names. It was a lot of, I don't know if they have to have a long name to be a rhythm game.
It's a strong episode just on the names of the games.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you haven't played those games and you hear them, you go, what the fuck could that game be
Yeah.
about?
I mean, no straight roads is pretty on the nose. It's about bendy roads.
But it's not either, because there aren't any roads in the game, as far as I can tell.
There might be.
Maybe we didn't get far enough.
No.
It's a roadless game.
It's a road-light game, yes. It's a road-light game.
I said
Or road,
roadless.
or
Oh, no,
road-like, depending on the features.
Yes, I was making
I see you. You were making a joke.
I was making a joke,
It
Gareth.
wasn't funny.
No, you meant
I
to.
thought it was good.
You meant to yes and not poop on myself.
Okay.
Anyway,
Hey, what was the best rhythm game? Josh?
so we open this up to a vote for you guys, as we always do for the vault, which is where we want to find out which of the 3 games we purchased was your favourite. We already know which was the one that goes in the vault, because actually, do you remember, Keris and Darren, which one ended up in the vault?
I do, because I was right.
Oh, Darren, do you remember?
No.
Which game would you think deserves to go in the vault? Outside of knowing, which game do you think deserves to go in the vault?
I think Crypt of the Necrodancer deserves to go in the vault, but I think Sayonara Wild Hearts might have the wider appeal.
Okay.
It might be sort of a more beloved game, whereas Necrodancer has the more insane niche fan base.
That makes sense. What were your thoughts on the game?
You don't need my thoughts because I know.
But of your thoughts of games, you've played them all now, apart from No Straight Roads.
Yeah. I played Sayonara and Crypt of the Necrodancer. Actually, if you've seen, or if you haven't seen it, go and check it out on YouTube. But I really didn't think I was going to like Crypt at the beginning, and then got really into it by the end. But out of the two of them, prefer Sayonara. I loved Sayonara. Loved it.
As we're all discussing this, No Straight Roads didn't get any votes.
No,
it was a fight between the first two games. I think No Straight Roads is potentially the more unknown title as well, so have that sort of thing.
It's a fun game. I don't think it stands up to the other two on offer.
No, and the one that did win only won by one extra vote, which was Sayonara Wild Hearts. So as Kerry's predicted, it's and as you said, Darren, it's the more widely accessible one. It's also a real nice. You go, I want to play it. As you saw when I streamed it, I did it in an hour. Yeah, like you can just blast through the game and have a lovely time with it.
Crypt is a terrifying juggernaut of a game.
Crypt, you're not doing anything in an hour. You're crying for a little bit. Yeah.
I think the thing for me was just the fact that you die and you go back to fucking square one.
Hell yeah.
I was like, oh my god, why?
It's very much a game style, a roguelike, if you will, that you haven't experienced before. So it's quite interesting.
I've never finished that game.
I've never completed a single run.
I've seen the final boss.
Right.
That's the best I've done.
That's fair.
I got to 4-4, where the final boss is. Conveniently, because it's a music game, haha. But
nice.
That's the best I've done.
I've got to level 4, but I don't think I made it to 4-4. I don't think I've done that well. So anyway, but we aren't putting Crypt in there. We're putting in Sayonara Wild Hearts with the rest of our Vault games for this season. So let's close the Vault and move into what we're fighting about this time. Work together, guys, on closing the Vault, and let's get into the genre.
Okay. Oh, he can't keep getting away with it, but he does.
You are such a twat.
What a sick, twisted game we are playing right now. The only thing more sick and twisted in this game is making us go into CEX. And that's what we had to do for this week's episode.
Jesus Christ.
So the genre this week was bottom shelf of CEX, which means what, Darren?
It's games from the bottom shelf of CEX.
There is not much more we can do about that. I mean, you may think they're potentially bottom of the barrel games, potentially the worst games there are.
No.
They could just be alphabetically. Yeah. It could be, I don't know what else you think was bottoms. They're just full of ass picks. I don't know. But bottom shelf of CX. So we went into, I think between us went into 3 or 4 different.
I think CXs. 4, yeah.
Because I went to one, we went in 2 different countries as well. So really, really spread ourselves out. And I also looked online to see if there was anything I could do it that way and go, maybe I'll cheat the system.
I started online.
But you can't tell what's going to be on the bottom shelf. Before we sort of think about what we could have bought, should we look at the games that we actually did purchase and people got?
Yeah.
So normally we go by the person who received their game first, but as we weren't buying them and sending them, we were buying them physically. We're going to do it on who purchased their game.
There's a lot of weird handoffs.
There were a lot of weird handoffs. Myself and Karis actually went off and purchased at the same time.
Yeah.
You disgusting married couple.
We are disgusting. And when we went to the counter, the game that had their disc put in the box first was Karis's purchase for me. And what did you buy me, Karis?
What did I buy you?
You bought me Far Cry Primal. Wow, that was hard, wasn't it?
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. So, Far Cry Primal, it's a Far Cry game. So a Ubisoft title that plays like a Ubisoft title. It's a first-person, open world. I would say RPG, maybe.
Caveman up.
But it is a caveman. It's set 10,000 BC. You speak in Wenji or Wenja. I think it's Wenji, which is a cave person language, and you're separated from your tribe, and you start forming a new tribe with other people you find along the way, whilst dealing with a woman who is set about to destroy the entire world because she's like communing with the gods for this eclipse thing that's going to send fire on the world and all that sort of thing. Sounds like a
good plan.
It sounds like a good plan. I mean, why wouldn't you want to burn the world to the ground? But it's very much follows the same Far Cry mechanics of 3 and 4. It doesn't have like the newer mechanics of like 5, 6, where you've got like fishing and other bits in there. It's very much you go out, you are hunting animals, you skin animals, you craft bigger things to kill bigger animals and people and take out outposts to open up more of the map to then do more skinning and more crafting to get bigger and complete the stories. It's
it's a Far Cry game.
It's a Far Cry game. It's missing masts. Like, I really thought it's got these sort of like pyres that you light to open up more of the map, but I always think when I think of Far Cry, climbing a big mast and pulling a power thing to open up more of the thing. But because of where it's set, it's caught by its own concept. But it does have things like you can see through an owl's eyes or a hawk's eyes. I can't remember if it's. I want to say it's an owl. It's an owl. And that can sort of pick out enemies, but that's something you would have with like your binoculars, but binoculars aren't invented back then. Yeah. So it's different things like that, which are quite cool. There aren't cars, so you can mount certain animals that you capture and tame, and they got all these very elements: bows, spears, clubs, and that is essentially what Far Cry Primal is. You Unga Bunga language, making the world safe for your Unga Bunga friends.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here we are.
The second game then was the one that I obviously purchased because my disc came in second, and that was for you, Darren.
Yep.
And what did I purchase you?
What did you purchase me?
Yes, what did I purchase you?
You bought me. It's Yooka Laylee and the Impossible Lair. I knew it was in something.
Yeah.
Like, which word exactly is it? I got so ready to say it, and my brain gave me all the words, and then where Impossible's meant to be just went question mark. I'm like,
it's a long title, and it's not an obvious title for what it is in the game either. I don't know. The lair would have been easier. I don't know.
So this is the second Yooka Laylee game. The first one obviously was a big sort of throwback to old school sort of N64 era, big collectathons. The big one's a big, the big one. The first one was a big sort of Kickstarter darling.
Yep.
I know because I backed it, so I'm in the credits. Haha. I got really happy.
Well done, you. Yeah.
Go me. I gave money.
There's you being in the credits of Yooka Laylee. There's Karis being in a Bring Me the Horizon song.
Yeah.
I'm in the Dark Knight films. It's all sorts of stuff.
When the fuck were you in Dark Knight?
You're able to record the chants that Bane does, so your name you go into the crowd noise of chanting along with Bane. In
No
the third
way.
one.
Were you in that?
Yeah, so I'm technically
cool.
in the film. Yeah,
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this one takes a big sort of departure from the first game in that this is a 2D side-scrolling platformer.
Yep.
Where you are sort of continuing the main conflict from the first game, and what King Bee, the big bad bee boss, has done this time is he's made a ray that basically hypnotizes all the other bees, which feels a bit weird enslaving his own race like that. You'd think he'd do it to others. But
is that how you would justify slavery, as long as it's with another race?
No, it just seems odd that, like, I'm the bee, so what I'm going to do is enslave the other bees.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, we have all sorts of other creatures in play that might be more dangerous than bees.
Makes more sense.
But I suppose this conflict is against Queen Bee, so perhaps it makes sense to get her followers in command. But the way the game sort of is structured is you then go through the different levels to get all the bees, break the mind control over them. And then the fun thing is sort of you have the Impossible Lair, and you can fight at any time, and each bee you have collected is a hit point.
That's cool.
In the final boss.
So it's you can go straight to the ending if you want to, but you can also just spend your time building up all the bees
levels. It's very sort of conventional 2D side scroller. You've got a lot of varied levels, different sort of themes, and it's half that and half sort of a top-down overworld where there's a lot of puzzles, a lot of different ways to unlock various things. And it's just a big sort of departure from
what the first one was.
The first one was, and they went sort of a different direction entirely. So
instead of Banjo-Kazooie, this is what would you describe this as an homage to? Is there a specific game, you think?
I don't think there's a specific game. It doesn't quite hit. I think it's more similar to like PS1 era side scrollers. So I can't think of an exact one to align it with.
Yeah.
But I will talk about this more in entertainment. The way it plays means I can't really set it to anything else.
Makes sense. Okay, that's cool. So that was the second game. Obviously, you went to a different shop at a different time, and Darren bought it last. So what game did you? And you got that for Karis.
I did.
Yeah.
What game did you purchase for Karis then?
I purchased for Karis Horizon Sero Dawn.
Yeah.
And this is the first time Karis has played Horizon Sero Dawn.
It is. I had a little bit of experience with Horizon Forbidden West because it came out on PS Plus at one point. But I think because I haven't played the first one, it just kind of throws you in.
The
right?
second one goes straight into it.
So I was a little like, bamboozled, shall we say. So it was nice to play the first one. Definitely got more into the first one. Yeah.
So what is the game then?
Yeah, so the game it's very much an open world game with a story, if that makes sense. So essentially you play as a girl called Aloy, who is situated in kind of like a post-apocalyptic setting. I also thought it was post-apocalyptic, but also almost prehistoric in a way, because they settle into tribes and they it just is. I don't know how to explain it.
It does fall on that, because it's that idea that things are mechanized and there's a cybernetic advancements, but like the creatures are almost dinosaur styled, aren't they? And but the weapons you've got aren't guns; they are spears and bows and things like that.
The technology has continued to advance, but humanity is sort of hard reset.
Well, it kind of like has come after what seems to have been this like metal revolution, because you see lots of like ruins of things that
Metallica's everywhere,
made out of metal. Obviously, all of the animals in inverted commas, air bunnies, is air bunnies.
Yeah, no, I know, but I was like all the animals, the air bunnies. So I don't remember.
I don't remember them. Like air bunnies quotations are made of metal. But the whole thing is that you, as a baby, have kind of been outcast, and you get adopted by this other outcast called Rost. And all the way through, she's been taught these survival skills, but eventually she starts to become a lot more curious about like who her parents were, why was she outcast, why is she not allowed to join the tribe, and she's told by Daddy Rost, that if she wants to learn about where she's from, she has to go through this trial basically to get back into the tribe. So I'll leave it at that. But
it's an action RPG. It's a fairly long story. It's about, I think it's over 20 hours for the story. So there's quite a lot still to uncover, I imagine, in what you've got to play there. And it does open up as a really cool story, all in all. If you play it the whole way through, there's a lot of twists and turns that you can sort of see coming, but when they come to realization, there's normally like a little bit of like spice, and they go, "Oh, I hadn't got all of it," and it's just a nice thing. And it also has Lance Reddick in there doing it, which is always nice to hear him.
It's one of those games where the story's cool and that it feels like it's building to something. You have some games where they feel like they're building, and it gets to that point and sort of flops a bit.
Yeah, this went
really hits where you're like, oh fuck, right.
There's a reason why this immediately became a sort of beacon of PlayStation. And Aloy is now like one of the poster children of PlayStation, isn't it? So so those are the games we got. But obviously there were other games that we potentially thought about looking at. Was there anything that was like standing out to you whilst you were looking around in your various stores or things like that?
I mean, listen, the thousands and thousands of copies of FIFA really called to me at one point.
It would have been fun.
Which FIFA would I have got, though, is the real question.
Oh, God knows. I don't know anything about FIFA. I know nothing about FIFA other than there are thousands of copies of
and there's
FIFA.
no more FIFA. FIFA is gone.
Yeah.
That's it.
Really, for me, I really, really struggled not to get you a SpongeBob game. I just thought it would have been really
It wasn't
fun.
even on the right shelf.
It was on the bottom but one shelf. I felt like it would have been dishonest.
Yeah.
So I didn't get it.
And I know you were sort of between Far Cry 6 or Far Cry Primal as well.
And to be honest, the only thing that clinched it for me was the fact that Far Cry Primal was cheaper. And I knew that you hadn't played Primal before.
Primal was the only Far Cry after Far Cry 3 I hadn't played, so it was quite nice for me, really. I'm quite happy to have that. It's also a cheaper game. Which is a big thing. I think about half the price, wasn't it?
I hadn't thought about this until just now. In theory, just taken any game, put it on the bottom shelf, and then picked it up.
It was really tempting.
Yeah.
It was so tempting. When I saw that stupid fucking SpongeBob game, I was like, oh, God.
Put it down there and be like,
oh, look.
If you'd gone, this is where I took a picture of it. I mean, it's very hard to dispute it, wouldn't it?
Exactly. This isn't bottom shelf. Where's your proof?
I really wanted to buy Fallout 4. there were no
I
copies of it
think
anywhere.
we were all looking at Fallout 4 as well.
And it was always like, I think one shop it wouldn't have been in the right place, and then the other one it would have been, but like neither one had it. Xbox 1,000 copies. PS4/5, no, nothing. I also tried to buy Alice Madness Returns.
Oh, yes.
Because it would have been in exactly the right spot on the shelf.
Yeah.
But it just went like, where it would have been was clearly like a gap. I was like, fuck.
It just wasn't
Damn
there.
it.
No.
Also, we swore the blood pact to never buy PS3
Yeah, we did
games.
swear.
We did, but fuck, that would have been good.
It would have been
That
a
would have
shout,
been real
right?
good.
God knows how we'd have streamed it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Because I'm not being funny. I mean, I think the selling point of that was how much I love the game anyway,
Yeah.
so it would have been like...
Does it have a Steam release? Because that's how...
Maybe, I don't know. Anything else that you thought? No, was that
Not that I
already?
could think of, no.
On my one, The Witcher was there. There was quite a few copies of The Witcher, which is an amazing game. I thought, value for money, £5 for the length of The Witcher.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm not losing to that. And to be honest, I went in there with a clear mindset of what I was looking for, which was something towards the end of the alphabet. But I did have a little look at the Switch games, and I keep forgetting that CeX sell Switch games more expensive than you can get them brand new, and I don't understand what they're doing.
Now that you said Switch games, I remember I did look at Pokemon.
Yes,
but it just like middle of the shelf. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge issue. I mean, I'll talk about it now with CeX, is that with their sort of pricing and stuff like that, there's no change if the box is broken, if they've got a cover reprint. I saw something where they were selling games like 100 odd quid because they were like classic games, and they're like, we've reprinted the cover, it's got reprint cover. You're like, if you're not selling the whole item, it shouldn't be the same price as if I could buy it on like eBay for that sort of thing. There's got to be a bit more of a thought about what you're doing, but there doesn't seem to be anything.
I think
in there,
CeX also just suffers from Amazon existing.
Yes,
like
yes.
if you remove Amazon from the game sales marketplace, the pricing structure of CeX makes perfect sense.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
As soon as you introduce Amazon on a whim, being like, fuck it, 3-month-old game for a tenner.
We got too much money. Too
It's
many
all
of these.
fucked.
Yeah, it does. It ruins it all. And like that's the thing. You go in there and go, well, it's this price. I can wait for it to drop anywhere else. And also, let's be honest, CeX is more interested in physical consoles and phones now more than actual games. They're just there to get people in the door, and then people go off and find and buy the big ticket items, shall we say? Anyway, should we move into the actual fight of the game then?
Let's do it.
And work out who is the best of the best.
Round 1, fight!
So, if you haven't been here before, what we do now is we fight over the best budget video game. We break it down to 4 categories. The first category is most accurate. Does what it says on the tin. 2, value for money. Obviously, cheapest to most amount of playtime. Most entertaining, which is a bit more subjective about what we think is the most entertaining game. And those 3 points go to the people who purchased the game. The last one is player of the game, and that is for the person who played the game. They can potentially win a point on the game that they played. Which means, there's benefits to playing games and what you purchase. It all becomes a little more tactical.
Yes.
And that's pretty much it. So we will now fight over those 4 sections. So we'll start off with most accurate.
Yes.
So, most accurate bottom shelf of CeX. They were all bought games from the bottom shelf of CeX.
They were there. Yeah. That's how this was done.
That was how it was done. I mean, when I came into this, I had, I think, 2 ideas about how this could potentially pan out. One is the one that's most likely to be on the bottom shelf of any CeX you go into. So potentially the furthest in the alphabet, 'cause you can't guess an F will be at the bottom shelf of the CeX wherever you go.
Yeah.
Or most numerous, the number, like most amount of that. So like when I saw The Witcher there and there were like 10 copies of The Witcher, I was like, I reckon there's going to be 10 copies of The Witcher in every CeX.
Yeah.
Do I buy that to sort of marry that across? I mean, did you guys have any sort of plan for what you thought would be the result of this, how it would work?
I mean, literally, I'm not gonna lie. The reason why SpongeBob was so appealing to me was because my original plan was just to go in and buy the stupidest fucking game I could find on the bottom shelf, like genuinely. But there wasn't a huge amount of stupid selection there, so I had to go for something serious.
So you were thinking more like bottom of the barrel bargain bin.
Yeah,
if I could find
I
that
thought
on this
double
one.
meaning
yeah,
of
that's
bar.
what I was going for.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then you end up buying Far Cry Primal, which was almost doing it.
A spoiler! A spoiler!
I sort of picked Horizon for 2 reasons.
Yep.
One of them was that it was on the bottom shelf in 2 CEXs, so I
Yep.
just went for the quantity approach.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other one was sort of adjacent to so many copies, it would be there.
Mhm.
Karis a minute ago mentioned the number of copies of FIFA.
Yes.
And I sort of like the idea of arguing that Horizon as an H game is a bottom shelf game because it is constantly shoved down by the rows and rows of FIFA that precede it.
There've got to be a point where they stop taking in the FIFA games.
You'd think.
You'd have thought that, wouldn't you? But I just don't understand.
I mean, surely there's no way that they're actually selling that many copies of
No,
last
but
year's FIFA.
they're probably giving you 50 pence for your copy of FIFA because they've got so much of it, so it doesn't really take anything out of them, does it?
I don't want to immediately sort of, paint a picture of someone, but I imagine the type of person to en masse trade in all of their games is the kind of person who regularly buys FIFA.
Yes, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, like if you're not regularly buying a FIFA, you're probably keeping a hold of your games.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just,
that's fair.
buy one, buy the next one, trade in the old one.
Yeah,
Cycles like that.
Very strange picture you're painting of that. I don't understand it, but I sort of agree. I don't know why, but yes. Yeah.
I don't know if it's just like you imagine someone who plays only FIFA and their routine is they buy the next FIFA and just trade in the old one.
Yeah.
So they have no need for it anymore.
But I get that as well. Like, you don't need on your shelf. I know there's a lot of collectors out there, but they aren't going, God, I wish I had every FIFA ever made.
I imagine there are.
Oh, there are people, but I just don't think that's a common place thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the Call of Duty. You could imagine people doing that in cycles because they're not planning on ever going back to that one and making the mistake and going, oh no, I've got the new Call of Duty, it's rubbish, but I can't go back. Yeah, it's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I very much feel that Yooka Laylee deserves this point because it is the one that is furthest in the alphabet. I did look for Zs. There were no Zs at mine. I don't think there was any Zs for you. As I said, I think online there was one that was Zorro, something like that. It was a weird Zorro game that was like with a kid as Zorro, and I was like, what the fuck is this? But that was the only Z game. I know there was like Zombie,
or like maybe like Zombie Army
4 or whatever it is. They're the only Z games I can think of. But then this is a Y game. I can't foresee them ever having a Y at the top of a shelf. I could always see them spacing out games enough to finish off PS5 or PS4 at the bottom before they move into the next console. You know what I mean?
Imagine it's just a shelf, it's just like, why one game and the rest of the shelf is just empty?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense, does it? So I feel like Yooka Laylee, if it was in any of the CEXs, it would be on the bottom shelf.
Yeah.
Whilst I couldn't guarantee that's the case with Horizon. I know it's a FIFA, but there's easy FIFA could knock us all into another shelf.
That's the thing. The other arguments are very subjective to what we saw.
Yes.
The end of the alphabet sort of has to be on the bottom of the shelf unless their employees are dumb.
But it's the same reason why Far Cry could be at the bottom shelf, because they've gone, right, we're just going to stick all the FIFAs at the top of the next shelf.
The next one.
Yeah, because we know where that's going to be. So you put Far Cry at the bottom and then you just move straight into FIFA.
Yeah.
So
I'm happy with that.
I think it goes to Yooka Laylee.
Well, Yooka Laylee points to Josh.
Yeah.
Because I need more points because I'm already winning this. Let's just keep
piling on.
Coming.
Yeah. I take it back.
Next one is value for money. Now, this one is obviously a bit more maths-based, as it normally is. And on the plus side, we don't have to remember how much we spend on them because they're on the game.
Written on the boxes.
So the first game that was purchased was Far Cry Primal. How much did you spend on Far Cry Primal, Keris?
6 whole pounds.
6 English puns. And how long is it to beat? It's 15 hours to beat the main story. Mains inside 24 hours. Completionist 36.5. I will confirm that Completionist is a good 12 to 14 hours after you've done all the content in the game.
Hell yeah.
What a fucking grind at the end of that. Just
shit to gather.
It was just to get XP. Just need to get XP. So I just kept spawning and killing mammoths over and over and over again, as you do. But yes, so £6 for really, we say sort of about 24 hours. It says All Stars 25. So £6 for 25 hours. It's an alright price. It's not a bad price point, that. I say that knowing exactly how much I've spent. So Yooka Laylee, £8.
Cool.
Main story, 13 hours. Mains inside, 16 hours. Completion is 21.5. All Stars, 16.5 hours. Not as good value for money, no. But
that feels right for that game.
I didn't think there was going to be a huge amount extra in the game. It's just you complete the game.
There's just a lot of it.
Yeah.
You can do everything sort of in flow, though. There's not anything that's difficult to get. It's just doing all of the game, getting all the collectibles.
So you're looking about £2 an hour for that. No, 50p an hour, isn't it? £8 for 16 hours. 50p an hour, whilst currently it's 30p an hour for Far Cry Primal, which means, Keris, you're currently winning.
Yeah.
Which we move into Horizon Zero Dawn.
Do it.
Darren, how much did you spend on Horizon Zero Dawn?
£4.
£4 for a main story of 22.5 hours. Mains in size 43.5. Completion is 61. All Stars about 46 hours.
Just gonna groove in my chair.
I think I might have spent about 50 hours getting the platinum on this. Somewhere between 40 and 50.
Just having a good time.
Having a good time, and it's £4. It's the longest game by quite a bit.
Yeah.
And also the longest game that isn't just grind for the sake of grind. Like, you will get, like, you have to level everything up, I think, you have to level up to max in Horizon. But if you're going through all the activities, you will reach that before you get there, which is lovely. So, realistically, because this is maths, I don't think we have any arguments here.
No.
This point goes to Darren for Horizon Zero Dawn. But
me.
Let's move into some arguing. Should we move into some arguing?
Yeah.
Most entertaining game. Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Go on,
I don't
Darren.
mind going. I had fun with this.
Yes.
I
Then
wouldn't
we'll stop there. We'll stop there. You have fun with it.
I wouldn't say it's the best side scroller. It's very well built and it's very artistically nice.
Okay.
But it's not my style of side scroller.
Right.
Like, as I said before, it's hard to sort of compare it to anything because when I think of a side scroller, I think of a Mario game.
Yeah,
that's like
fair.
my point of a side scroller.
I think Mario probably is the defining side scroller.
Yeah.
The only other ones that people argue is maybe Sonic. It depends on what you start with, but it's around
So
those
like,
sort of ones.
both of those are decent examples for the point I'm going to make.
Yeah.
This is a very slow side-scrolling platformer.
I'm glad I brought up Sonic then, when if it's a slow one.
Yeah. It's got more of an emphasis on platforming and sort of dodging attacks as you go. There's a lot of indestructible enemies, the idea being that you have to sort of get around them rather than defeat them. Like, the example I put it closest to is the reason I said PS1 side-scrollers is earlier this year on PS Plus I played Klonoa.
Okay, yeah.
And it feels a lot like that in terms of how it plays. It's quite weighty, it's quite slow, and it's got a lot of verticality in its platforming.
Right.
Like, it'll be about the screen, and there'll be another 50% above that we can hop up onto the platforms, and there's secrets everywhere.
Right.
And it's a lot about exploring the area rather than getting through it as quickly as possible, like some of the other side scrolls might be.
So, would you say, I was going to say similar to like Celeste, but Celeste is still quite fast paced in what it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
But it, like, despite me not gelling 100% with the way it plays, like, I do wish it moved a bit faster. Yeah. It's very nicely done.
Okay.
I like the design of the levels. I love the overworld, how, like, what it's got going on there. It's got a lot of, like, little puzzles, and each world you have to unlock, but it also has an alternate form that you get to by doing, like, a puzzle in the overworld that then changes the situation of the level. And, like, those alternate levels are really interesting. Like, an example is the first one you get the alternate level off is a level which has a lot going on with, like, fountains and water spouts. And you use that for time-based platforming.
Can you, like, freeze the water and stuff like that?
The alternate version of it, like, it gets frozen.
Right, makes sense.
And then all of them are fixed at certain lengths. You go through the level in a different order, in a different sort of route.
Right.
And all of them have sort of that variation to them.
Clearly a lot of love in how it's made, and it feels fine. It's just, it's not quite as good as it could. You feel like...
Yeah, it's got a lot of fun, like, content, a lot of fun callbacks to the first one, but I was never sort of drawn to play more than one level of it.
Right.
I said this to you while I was playing it. I would play a level, go, that was fun, but I don't feel like playing anymore. I'd close the game, I'd stare at it on the PS, like, homepage for about 5 minutes, and then I'd load it up again and play another level. Yeah. I had to, like, trick myself into
playing,
like, wiping the memory that I played it to play more of it. And I never didn't have fun, but I never wanted to, like, play more of it at once. I think because it is a bit sort of sluggish, it is a bit plodding, and I want a side scroller, a platformer, to be a bit more
sure, but this is almost like a satiating game. Like, you feel content doing it, but at no point you're like, fucking hell, I can't wait to, like, do some more.
I was really happy to play a level of it, and then I'd look at the next level and go,
it's content content. That's all it is. It's content content. Nice. Okay, so it's fine. It's fine.
It's good, but
let's change our vibe then. Far Cry Primal.
I was gonna say, which direction?
Far Cry Primal. I like a Far Cry game. I do. And I do think this is better than 4.
Okay.
I don't think it's good though.
Right.
Would you say it's a Far Cry from 3?
Thank you.
Oh.
It's very good. The biggest issue I have with this game is the language.
Yep.
Why they have them trying to articulate long, complex sentences with real basic ass conversation underneath, like, it's doing all this sort of, like, language, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's obviously a lot of, because they spent a lot of time forming and creating an actual language there. just because you've made a language doesn't mean it's worth my time, though. There's a point where you just want to mute it and just read the subtitles, because the subtitles are like, me hungry, go get me food. And you're like, oh, okay. Why have you given me a whole language where you're trying to be, when you could have just had them do that voice throughout it? I mean, I don't know if they're trying to be more culturally sensitive, or I don't know what it is, but I don't think many Neanderthals are going to be angry by what's being put out there.
It's just like, I don't understand why they would make the language and then make the subtitles broken English.
Yeah.
Like, either make the subtitles standard English or make them speak broken English.
Yeah.
Like, why did you create this language knowing how plot heavy this game is and knowing I have to track everything that's being discussed?
Yes.
If the subtitles aren't going to be much more help.
No, and that's the thing. I would have rather had them do it with no subtitles and just point at a map and I go, right, I'm inferring what I'm doing, and that's fine. Like, I don't mind that because it's Far Cry, so there are a million fucking pings on the map where you need to go.
Yeah.
And I go there and I do something, I'm like, oh, this is what that might have even been more fun. But
That would have been such a funny example where they go like, they say a few words, you go, what?
Yeah.
And then the map marker appears, you go,
cool. Yes. The mountain. Yes, okay.
like you loaded up the game in the wrong language.
Yeah.
I'm just going to power through.
But that being said, the game handles fine. It does what it needs to. I like what they've done with it. I understand why they made things. But I do feel like because it's Primal, because it's, that 10,000 BC, a lot of the zany fun you get in a Far Cry game of exploding an entire place or machine gun firing everyone or sniping someone for thousands of miles away
Or setting wheat fields on fire.
or getting wheat fields on fire whilst Skrillex plays
in the background.
or jumping
Best level.
or jumping in a plane, jumping out with a parachute just to land in an outpost and just start blowing things up because you've that's all gone because you are so limited. Like, they bring things in like, you can throw wasps, whoa, you're like, whoa, yeah, wow, that, but it was still enjoyable. At no point was I hate this. It was like, I'm having a fine time, which in the nicest way does turn out to be most Far Cry games, which is, this is fine.
Yeah.
Until you get to the grind at the end, which is actually unbelievably unfair and stupid of them. I don't understand how you can have a game that only has 20 hours of content, but to get full max level, you have to play 30 hours of a game. It doesn't compute why they've done that. But overall, I got the platinum on this game. So
Same,
So it couldn't have been a bad...
Oh yeah, same.
Don't
do it, Gareth. But it couldn't have been a bad time, is the way I look at it. It was a time that I had that I was like, you know what? I don't feel like I've lost this time. I just feel like I may have been able to spend it on something else that I was doing, but at no point was I aggravated by it. It was fine. You give me an Ubisoft title that is a Far Cry game, and this was a Far Cry game with a different skin, and at no point can I be upset by that.
No, it was definitely Far Cry.
It was Far Cry. It did what it needs to do, and some of the characters really are quite fun in there. There are some boring characters, but that's the same with every Ubisoft
every game.
Yeah. You just can't help it. But they do put some good characters in there. But it was fine. So I was content, shall we say. Darren was content. Karis, were you content with your game, or were you...
I was more than content.
Oh.
I was more than content. In stark contrast, actually, I loved this game. I thought it was
good.
Amazing. Really, really good. I was skeptical going into it because of my experience before, because I think it's well known on this podcast now, like, I'm not a huge open world fan. I find them a little bit overwhelming. I don't find them particularly story driven, and for my little brain, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So when it came to playing this game and seeing that it was open world, but it was very, very story driven, and that I to be honest, I just loved everything about it. I thought the world that it's built in is really beautifully made.
Yeah.
Really, really beautifully made. The whole melding together of that kind of prehistoric feel with the futuristic feel, that's not something I've experienced really in any other game other than maybe Fallout 4, because of that kind of futuristic 1950s kind of crossover. And I loved the combat. I thought the combat was really dynamic and it moved at a pace that allowed you to kind of like you gained new weapons and new skills very quickly, but it wasn't overwhelming. They gave you time to kind of get used to it, to experiment with it, which I really liked because, you know, all the way through it, I ended up, you know, it was weird for me because the combat isn't straightforward, and I thought I would struggle with that, but I actually really enjoyed the process of the experimentation with the combat because they give you enough in your arsenal really straight away, but you don't have to use them in a particular way. You know, your enemies have got your typical targets, but for example, like with the stun gun, there are many different ways you can use that, and you have to approach different enemies in different ways. And it was enough of a challenge for me that I was like, oh, this is interesting, but it wasn't so hard that I was like, oh, well, fuck this. I don't want to do this. Do you know what I mean? And most of all, really, I think they were really good at making you connect with the characters really, really quickly. I felt for Aloy very quickly. I, for many reasons, enjoyed the character of Rost.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
And I really liked their relationship. I really liked their dynamic. I liked the fact that as a player, you wanted him to join the tribe, but you were also quite resentful of them because you didn't know a whole lot about them other than they were being twats. And yeah, I really enjoyed, for me anyway, I guess the biggest part for me was the characters, but also that experimentation with things that are sometimes too straightforward and sometimes too challenging. I thought it was a really good middle ground, and it made me use my brain in a way that wasn't super hard.
The weapons are really good. There's a little heft to what you're doing. You feel what you're doing there.
Yeah.
But you look at a creature and it gives you enough information for you to go, oh, it just clicks something in your head. You go, oh, it'd be better if I did this. And like, you can...
like little things like the fact that some of them, you can, you know, just shoot them and it's fine. But other ones, like, you have to actively avoid first. You have to think about your strategy when you approach them. Otherwise, you know, you will die. I like the fact that you have to like hide in like tall grass for some of them. You have to actively be very stealthy with other ones, and I really enjoyed it.
It's fun. I mean, I very much found a playstyle that worked for me with them. I'm sure Darren did as well. But like, I like to like tripwire them, stun them, and then just beat the living shit out of them. Like that was where on one item to try and like break off most of their legs.
I liked tripwires. I also liked two weapons where there's the one where you basically like grab bits off of them. Yeah. And there's, I think, the buzz saws, which do much of the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I like to tripwire them and it's like systematically remove bits.
Yeah.
Where it's like, they're firing like cannons. Yeah. So I'm going to cut the cannons off. They're firing elemental attacks. I'm going to cut the canisters off.
That's part of the combat, though, that's really good, isn't it? Like, you start making them weaker and you're like, I feel invincible.
Well, this is the thing, is like, at one point, after the kind of big tutorial bit, when you're kind of a bit on your own, there's like a mini boss. There's the, I can't remember what it's
bloody called now. Is it?
No. There's loads of stalkers. It's
the Sawtooth.
Sawtooth.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I knew what it was. I couldn't think of the name. Yeah.
That one I remember feeling really clever because it looked really big, and I was thinking, oh fuck, okay, right, what am I? And I put 2 tripwires, because obviously the cool thing is that you can track them with your little device.
Your magic Dorito.
With your magic Dorito. And I tracked it, and I put 2 tripwires in the track. And it hit the 2 tripwires, and then I literally just shot it once and it died. And I was like, oh mate, I'm fucking class. Like, what a fucking legend I am. Like,
Master Hunter.
It really does feed you just enough that you get going. And Guerrilla have done really well with this, and I think they do a real good job with the next game as well, giving those extra bits. So they've done I just want to see what they do after this, because I know they've done the VR thing, but I think are they doing something, a different title is their next thing? They're doing a new IP, so it'll be really interesting to see where they go. So going by how we've all felt about these games, I think it's quite clear who's taking the points on this one for entertainment. So it's going to Darren for getting Horizon.
I should have said it was shit.
I think realistically, I've played 2 of the games, and Horizon I would say is more entertaining than Far Cry.
I've played all 3.
And Darren's played all 3.
I wouldn't have been able to. I would have felt very wrong downplaying how much I enjoyed that game at all.
So that's 2 points to Darren, which means Darren has secured a point for this episode. which now means he is currently 1 point ahead of Keris.
I am.
And 1 point below me.
Yeah.
So there is a chance, Keris.
I'm what you might call a power middle.
Unfortunately, Keris, there isn't a chance for you, but there is a chance for me to also get a point in this episode.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
So I have a feeling I will not be winning.
You sound it.
Yeah.
I probably won't be winning player of the game. So player of the game. Does anyone want to start with their player of the game?
I'll go for my pillar of safety.
Okay, go for it. Looking down at us mere mortals.
Yeah. So I said before about how the game has sort of different versions of each level.
Yeah.
And you sort of have to do different things in the game to unlock them. The one I really like the most is, I think it was level 7. And it has...
I love level 7 too. It's a good name.
Yeah. It has panic mode and peril mode are the two halves of the level.
Oh my god, that's my entire life.
I know.
Oh.
And the first part of it...
anxiety the
game.
is a very sort of straightforward platformer level. It's got a lot of conveyor belts, a lot of spinning wheels, a lot of sort of time-based sort of crusher puzzles. And it's not the hardest level, not the most complex level, but it's fun.
Yeah.
You get there and you pop out on sort of the other side of the level. So normally you have the book you go into and then something will happen to the book. This one just has a fence down the middle of the book. You're on one page one side, one page the other, and you pop out the other side of this fence. The other half of it then, instead of doing something to fundamentally change the level, all it does is bring up a big sort of murder wall of electricity.
Nice.
And it challenges you to go through the level backwards.
With this thing chasing you.
Yeah, so you have to keep up a decent pace, and getting the collectibles is quite hard because you have to gain like enough of a head start on it that you can sort of double back on yourself a bit.
And then the issue with it being a 2D side scroller is you can't see off the edge, I suppose, yeah.
But all the timing of everything is kind of fucked because it's timed to go through it the other way.
Makes sense.
So the platforms are now going the wrong direction. The conveyor belts are going the wrong direction. I think like the way burst through it, the conveyor belt is going backwards against you, so you have to sort of like climb up against it, and then when the crusher goes up, you run under it.
Yeah.
This time the conveyor belt is going towards the crushers. You have to time your run a bit so you don't get hit.
Right.
But I just thought that was really cool in a way. It normally like changes it up and gives you different paths. This one's just like, no, do the exact same level again, backwards, where all the timing's kind of off and everything's a bit weird.
It's like when you do your Mario Kart level at 150cc mirror or something like that. Suddenly you can't do the race at all because you fucking suck. Yeah.
Like, I remember how this works, and then it's mirrored. Like, oh god,
no. I'll go next if you are. Sorry. There was like 2 moments for me which were very much scripted moments. They were interaction with the characters. There's one where you meet a guy called, I think it's Uga, I think his name is, I might be just making it up, but he's like, I think it is Uga. He's like a big, strong guy, and he's sort of going a bit delirious at one point. And it's because his head is hurting and painful, and he asks you to literally pierce his skull with a sharp bone and help it just to let the blood come out of his head. Yeah, well, no, not all the way in, just enough to break the bone so that it can like bleed out. So it's not on his brain. His brain isn't hot because he's saying it's all
classic unicorn.
Lobotomy might be quite nice.
Yeah, but that was one of them. The other one is you're off to do this mission. You're meant to be finding this guy to help you. He's like I don't think he's a hunter. I can't remember what he is, but he's like going to be beneficial for your tribe to have him. You've got not really much information on just know where he is. So you climb up to this cave mouth. You start walking towards it, and then it goes into a little cutscene. And you get pushed off, and you look up, and water is falling on you, and you think, oh, you could hear water anyway, so maybe it's just like a waterfall. And then you realise that it's actually the guy is above you with one arm going, "You cannot catch me, piss man," and he's calling you piss man. Because he's pissing on you from above. So you're being drenched in urine as he's pissing on you. And he just calls you piss man over and over and over again with one arm. And then you get through that sort of cave section and you manage to beat him to the top because and you hear him go, "It's so hard to do anything with one arm." Blah, 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 blah.
Just so you know, Josh's Insta handle will no longer be Discount Josh. It will be Piss Man.
I like the idea of he knows beforehand he wants to call you piss man. It's like, it just sounds like such an invalid name.
Yeah, I need to do some more. But it's like, when he gets to the
piss
end,
on him.
When he gets to the end, he sees you after you've beaten him, and he thinks you're dead. He looks behind him, looks at you, and goes, "Piss man?" And it's just like a really good little bit there, and it was like a nice, funny, typical Far Cry humorous moment. But yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Nice.
And I will not be changing my Instagram.
I think you should.
Curious.
Yes.
Does your bit involve a man as a piss man, or does it involve a different man?
No, it involves a different man.
Okay.
Not piss man.
With different bodily excretions.
Yeah.
Well,
Is
maybe.
excretions the word I want to use?
Excretions
yeah.
is a horrid word.
Ablutions?
Ablutions might be worse. Ablutions. Ew.
Does he
anywho.
piss, Karis?
I don't recall seeing him piss.
Okay.
And she would have
I would have remembered.
So you're player of the game, Gareth.
So
What
yeah,
is
Yeah.
if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, does it piss?
Does it piss?
Yep.
Does it piss? So mine is also a scripted moment. I did think about using the bit with the sawtooth for it. But then I had this part and I was like, oh god, okay. I'm not usually a big fan actually of using scripted moments, but this is I had a really visceral reaction to it, and that doesn't often happen in games with me. So this is a big spoiler. If you haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn, you plan on it, you can skip past this bit if you want to.
You should have played it by now anyways.
Yeah,
to
just
not-
If you have played it, or if you're not that bothered, then fair enough. So, as I said before, one of the things that I really loved about this game is how connected and how attached you kind of get to the characters pretty much straight away. And she's an outcast, Ross is an outcast, and he is very much like the father figure to her. And you really kind of, they build on that father-daughter connection very, very heavily. She's very attached to him. And when she is going through this trial, he makes her away from the very beginning, really. Like, if you join the tribe, I am an outcast. It is illegal for you to talk to me. It's not worth it. We will not be able to talk. And all the way through, Aloy kind of ignores this because she's like, no, you're my father. I'm not going to not stop talking to you. And she keeps trying to find ways around it until eventually her plan is, she says, you aren't going to come to me. I will come to you, and you don't have to say anything. I will just essentially talk at you. You will listen. And, that way you don't get in trouble. I'll get in trouble if anything happens. And all the way through, he doesn't say yes to it. He just kind of doesn't acknowledge it. And she takes that as a cool, that's my plan. And you think, great, okay.
That's a dad yes.
Fine.
Yeah.
That's a dad yes. And then
Because it isn't a dad no.
she literally, he says, okay, it's the time for the trial now. So I will meet you at this certain place outside the gates and we'll talk through what you're going to do. And she meets him and she says, right, okay. They talk through everything and she goes, I'm going to go now. And once I've passed, I will come to you in a couple of days and we'll talk. And he's like, no, you're not, because I'm not going to be there. And she is obviously like, what the fuck do you mean you're not going to be there? You're always there. And he point blank says to her, I'm literally not going to let you spoil your place here by getting in trouble and talking to me. So from this moment on, you will never see me again. You will never speak to me again. It's for the best. I am going to leave and I'm going to go somewhere I know you cannot find me. You will not be able to find me. And of course, Ally knows that that's true because she's good at tracking. She's good at it, but he's far, far, far superior at that. If he wants to disappear, he'll disappear. And she's like begging him, like, don't do this. I've told you my plan. Like, I need you. And he is literally, in order to kind of, I think, emotionally detach himself, he just is very cold and is like, no, this is what I'm doing. Like, you go, have a good life, I'm off. And it is emotionally devastating. It is horrid. The voice acting is so good and she so desperately wants him to stay. And he's just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm going.
The same reason I couldn't foster a cat.
Yep.
The same thing as saying goodbye to the cat. I'd have to be cold and heartless towards it.
And you couldn't do it. You'd be a little blubbering mess over a cat, bless you.
It's the only relationship I could have that I could relate to that sort of feeling of. Yeah.
Not if we divorce or anything. No, just the
That's
cat,
not going to happen.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm joking.
No, it's a brilliant moment in there.
Yeah.
It's a great sort of, because I'm not saying it's the end of the first act of the game, but it's sort of
Yeah.
it's either that or it's like this is the prologue.
It's like the end of the prologue. Yeah.
And it's such a good setup for the rest of the game.
It was one of those things that I could feel myself tearing up, and I thought, oh, okay, this is harsh. And I think it particularly I think pulls on the heartstrings of people who probably either have a really good relationship with their dad. Like I have a great relationship with my dad. So for me, it was very much like, oh my fucking God, I could never imagine like my dad just saying to me like, no, bye, off.
Go to buy cigarettes, see you soon.
Yeah. Or people who maybe don't have a good relationship with their father and then suddenly find like a father figure in this character who then goes, nah, I'm off, you know, bye. And I had to pause it. I had to stop because the next bit is literally she just goes, okay, I gotta pull myself together, I gotta get going, and then you've got the next part of the game. And I thought, oh well, hang on a minute, like I had to stop and pause it, and I think I like ended up going to put some food on or something because I was like, I need a minute to process.
That sounds real autism. I don't understand these feelings. Maybe I'm hungry.
That's the thing. It does like nicely put you in the same headspace.
Yeah.
Where the only character you've interacted with the whole game is Rost.
Yeah.
And then the game's just like, well, he's gone now, so go do the
Off
game.
you go.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it shows how good that game is. There are so many moments like this, and there are bits that are going to be coming up that you're going to be like, but you're going to have to get in this emotional reactions. It's just so well put together. And I know that's your play of the game, but there are plays of the game that I could think of back in that game where I'm like, I had that visceral reaction. I'm sure Darren did as well. Whilst I don't think I had that in mind, and although Yooka Laylee was fun that they did this thing,
it's not like a big thing.
It's not, and I think Horizon should get the points, so it should be a points to Karis for this.
Yeah.
Because
Yay!
It does nothing, but you know.
Oh, all right. You. That was you way to shit on me.
Pity point.
Pity point.
Oh my God.
So
I'm fuming.
that is.
That's okay. I'll have it instead. Don't worry.
No, you fucking won't. I will take my pity point. Thank you very much.
Hell yeah.
That's the end of our fighting then. Well, probably not. Off recording, it probably
As much
continue.
as we will hear.
But that's the end of the fight.
I don't understand these feelings. Maybe I'm just hungry.
So Darren has won the episode. Ooh. That puts him 1 point behind me, 1 point ahead of Karis. There are 2 episodes still to go. I think 2.
Yeah.
So it's still anyone's game to lose. Except...
Fuck it, I'm fucked.
No, it's anyone's game to lose. Anyone's game to lose. But before we know how we're going to lose...
fuck off!
We need to know what games we're buying on the next.
We said we were going to not get divorced. That will never happen.
Nobody said anything. There was silence.
Yes, I know. Darren, do you want to open up your random genre generator?
The random genre generator.
And let us know what it is we're going to be fighting over on the next fight episode of Discount Pod.
So we have a very, very good category coming up, everyone.
Oh.
Back when we started this podcast, we made a trailer. We had 3 topics in that trailer.
Yeah.
2 of them have come up. And it's time for the 3rd one.
Yep.
It's fish.
Fish! I've been waiting for fish. Not because I've had something in mind, but just because
I like... dumb category.
It's such a good title.
It's got so many options because there is a verb, there is the noun, there is, there's all sorts of ways you could look at
It's back in the season 1 days of like dog sidekicks.
Yes.
Just fish, bucket.
It's a clear, simple prompt that could be taken off into different directions.
Fish, motherfucker.
I've got some ideas. I'm sure you both do as well. So it'll be very exciting to see where we go with that. But before we head off, guys, just want to remind you to check us out on anywhere you get social media. So we are on we are Discount Pod on Instagram at Discount Pod. We have all our updates, all our winners, all the things up there. So we are active. Drop us a message. But if you want to drop us individually, because you like some of us better than others, we have our own ones, which is like Discount Harris, Discount Darren, and Discount Josh. We are all there.
AKA Pissman.
Yes, aka Pissman. Also, if you are interested in these games that we've played, we stream on Twitch as well, which is at Discount Pod. So on Wednesdays, we stream these games. So when this comes out the day after, I think I'm playing Yooka Laylee.
Yeah.
And then, we got the other games will be coming as well. So you can check them out there. And they are also all on YouTube. All our old games. So check them out along with our legacy streams of Darren doing all the Kingdom Hearts games, Karis doing all the Resident Evil games eventually. And,
one day.
And Josh doing all the Souls games. But yeah, that's everything. Thank you so much for coming along for another episode. Thank you for hopefully enjoying this second record of an episode, and we hope we've done enough to sort of make it feel fresh and not like we're just going through the motions. Because this isn't
good.
CeX.
It did feel good though.
Still hit those.
And just avoid CEX, guys. Anything you want to say before we head off?
Buy things from the top shelf. Treat yourself.
Yeah,
unless you're small, then go for whatever shelf you can reach.
But do go to independent retailers, just not CEX.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else from you, Karis?
I'd just like to clarify that after the sex joke and the piss man jokes that I've been making, this is not indicative of Josh's sexual preference.
At no point had anyone else made that connection. So thank you, Karis, for waving a red flag.
Hello, YouTube. How
Yes,
you doing?
I hope you're enjoying it. Anyway, thank you all for coming along. We'll catch you all next time. Thanks for being our Player Fools, and bye.
Bye.